Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 quick match gameplay. And this time around I'm playing as the Skaven against the High Elves on the map Sulphur River. And I do want to apologize for the fact that I've not been posting videos lately. It has been because I've had serious issues with recordings. As you can see in some of the older videos, basically every video I've done for Warhammer 2, there has been lag, serious issues with the game, I haven't been able to get decent recording. And I do believe this has finally been fixed, or I finally managed to fix this issue. And hopefully these recordings from now on will just be decent and normal, just like they were before. So I definitely apologize for not posting content regularly like I do. I was basically just trying to sort out, and I had a lot of schoolwork, and on top of that I was trying to fix, I just didn't really have the time, and I wasn't entirely sure how to fix the problem with my recording software with OBS. So I think that's finally fixed, and so I'll kind of be going through this game here as a Skaven. And so going as the High Elves, I wanted an army that could deal with a lot of squishy infantry, some high armor infantry. One of the big things with the new game is that every faction has a lot of different build options, and so you kind of need to counter all of it. So yeah, I decided to go very wide and take an army that could hopefully counter anything the High Elves brought. So I did bring Queek Headtaker, maxed out with everything, I do believe. Here, just gonna scroll over. Yep, I did bring Warp Shard armor, as well as, of course, Dwarf Gouger, just for that extra damage. Queek is just a decent survival lord. One of the big problems with Skaven is that none of their lords are particularly survivable in raw HP, and they have no source of self-sustain. So the fact that Queek does have a good amount of armor and okay combat stats will make him a decent kind of pick for me against High Elves, who have quite a few assassination options, especially if they bring a flying goon squad. No heroes are coming in with him, so everything else is just infantry and monsters. I did bring clan rats with shields, kind of, to make up my... Well, I guess I should go with the front line, which is 3 units of Skaven slaves, one slightly veteraned up because I had 10 extra gold. And these guys are literally just there to absorb arrows. They're there to eat fire, fall apart, and hopefully keep getting fed into the grinder, maybe pursue some messed up units later into the game off the battlefield. But other than that, these guys are just there for cannon fodder. Behind them, my main sort of front line is a mix of clan rats with shields and 2 plague monks. The plague monks are actually a very solid unit. They do have frenzy, they have a small built-in physical resist, they dish out a lot of hurt. They're a very, very solid damage dealer, and the clan rats are just dirt cheap, and they do have shields, so they should be able to just tank for my front line and help the Plague Monks kind of win. Behind that, I do have 2 units of Death Runners, and these guys are there to provide some armor piercing, to provide the Weeping Blade, which is a 50% armor debuff for 35 seconds and should make things much more susceptible to being assassinated. They're very quick on their feet, so they can reposition to counter enemy cavalry if it comes in, rather than using spears for that purpose. And I could also try to get them into my opponent's backline, that sort of stuff. These guys have a lot of different different uses, and they're just a very powerful unit in general. Finally, for my last melee units, I do have 2 units of Rat Ogres, 1 on each flank. These guys are very susceptible to range fire, so I definitely need to be a little cautious, but they do have Frenzy, they have Armor Piercing, they're fairly mobile as far as Skaven are concerned at 60 speed, and they can definitely dish out a lot of hurt, and they're my second sort of line of defense against cavalry, because they have high mass and can lock people down in place. Then I have 4 units of Gutter Runner Slingers with Poison. These guys have a decent amount of ammunition, they have okay missile damage at 16. I don't believe it causes that much. It's 2 armor piercing, so a little better than, say, Goblin Archers only have 1. But they fire very quickly. They have solid range at 140. They have built-in 30% physical resist. Good amount of ammo. They're very mobile. They're decent in melee. They're just a very solid all-around unit, though a bit expensive on the. As you'll see, I'm not running any artillery pieces, and that is because the more testing I've done, the more quick match I've been doing. I've actually been doing a decent amount of quick match, even though I haven't been able to record. I found that the Skaven have some serious issues. They can't really protect their artillery against the new air units. There's so many air units that now, with all the dragons and the phoenixes with their projectile attacks, with either the breath attacks or the phoenixes AoE, that it's like a gust of fire or something, and there's just very little that you can do to defend your artillery against that, and it's very frustrating. I very much think the Skaven need their war block jails implemented, but right now there's no real counter for them against air, no reliable counter at any rate, and so artillery is definitely not a great choice in my opinion, especially against a faction like High Elves. That said, my opponent did bring a fairly wide and very infantry-heavy build. He brought Tyrion here, and Tyrion is actually on foot, which is good for me. It means that he's definitely down to the ground and easier for good old It's got a good old squeak to beat up on. I'm gonna throw things into full speed here. You can see the chariots over here harassing my troops, whittling down the Skaven slaves, which I couldn't care less about. But Tyrion is a very solid melee combatant, very high melee stats. He will definitely beat Queek in a head-to-head combat. But I'm hoping that with debuffs and some support, I'll be able to take him down. Now, my opponent's main contingent is 4 units of spearmen who are making up his front line, and then I do believe 7 units of Lothern Sea Guard. Most of these guys actually have shields. This unit here in the center does not have shields, and these guys are incredibly tanky. They're basically better spearmen with a lower model count and bows and arrows, and they of course outrange all Skaven units or else Skaven infantry, and they can just tear through them very, very efficiently. And you can see this shortly that the slaves are just going to start falling apart. You can see these slaves over here who got harassed a little bit by the chariots are already falling apart. Tyrannox chariots, a bit of an interesting choice. These guys do have a decent amount of DPS, but they are kind of limited on ammo. It's only a 3 model unit. They have very low armor, which means that actually the Skaven slingers will actually do okay on some damage if these guys get caught standing still. But they are very quick and they're very hard for me to catch. Probably 2 units of silver helms are hidden out here in the woods. These guys are basically just there to, I'm assuming, to get into my back line, provide some pressure on my missile line, and just get some rear charges and that sort of stuff. So regardless, we are pushing in rather quickly. You can see the Skaven slaves are just not having a good day. This unit's already wavering. The moment strength in numbers goes down, your unit will fall apart very, very quickly. And these Skaven slaves are already routing. This unit's going to follow shortly. And this final unit's practically routed off as well. Shortly, all these units will be gone. Only this one unit of slaves actually makes it into full combat, with the other 2 having broken under the concentrated fire. Fortunately, though, that does mean that my clan rats and my plague monks have managed to get close. You can see I'm trying to push the rat ogres in around the flank, and just kind of crash into my opponent's front line. My units are definitely overlapping here a bit, which could be a problem. You can see some of the slingers are opening fire over here. You can see the silver helms are pushing in from the flank. I have not committed the death runners yet. I'm kind of keeping them in reserve, though I have actually committed them over here on the left flank. You can see the slingers are doing a little bit of damage, busting through the silver shields, but it's very hard for them. I do throw the rat ogres in. Rat ogres will not do great against Lothern Sea Guard because Lothern Sea Guard, of course, has shields. Now over here, Queek is going toe-to-toe with Tyrion, and normally Queek would not win against Tyrion. He doesn't really stand a chance. But with the help of Dwarf Gouger, as well as Trophy Heads nuking down Tyrion's melee defense, Queek will actually be able to bring him down to size pretty quickly. And you can see he's not really hitting Queek because of the debuff, and Queek is hitting like a truck. Over here in the meantime, these poor clan rats have started falling apart, but the Death Runners are in now, and they are tearing through these silver helms. Unfortunately, there's nothing to shut down the second unit of silver helms, which does get a rear charge of these clan rats. The rat ogres are falling apart, and they just don't have the survivability to tank through all this. I'm not on top of bringing these Skaven slaves back into the fight. I definitely should be. You can see these gut runners are still kind of firing away, trying to whittle down these Lothern Sea Guard and bring them down to size. The chariots are still harassing, but they're not really able to put out enough DPS over here. Queek has almost finished off, or taken about half of Tyrion's health off in the duration of that debuff, but now Tyrion has popped Feint and Riposte, which is a very solid buff and makes him very tanky, and Queek is not going to be able to bust through that effectively at all. But hopefully all this infantry and the Silver Helms will get beaten off, and that'll be a solid win for me. In the meantime, these Death Runners, you can see they're very, very quick. They 48 speed, I do believe it's 54 once their runaway kicks in. And you can see they're absolutely tearing through these Silver Helms, doing a lot of hurt. These guys have very solid armor-piercing stats, and of course that Weeping Blade. In the meantime, these Silver Helms, you can see, are not doing the greatest against the Gutter Runners because they do have that built-in physical resist, and now they are getting hit by the Rat Ogres, and the Rat Ogres will make pretty short work with the Silver Helms. Queek does pop another knockback, and it actually throws Tyrion on his back. These Death Runners are coming in to help Tyrion, or not to help Tyrion, yeah, right, to help Queek try to put down Tyrion. And you can see they're just kind of mobbing in on him and starting to cut through him. My opponent was not able to extract Tyrion from this fight, and it's definitely fortunate for me. This unit of spears is kind of just sitting around, and my opponent isn't capitalizing on it, really. Of the fact that he's kind of won most of these infantry fights. Much of my infantry's kind of been routed off, but I'm trying to pull them back into the fight. The Death Runners are now kind of firing away with the slings. These Death Runners got into my opponent's back and are throwing rocks into the back here against these spearmen. In the meantime, I'm trying to pressure my opponent's backline with Rat Ogres as well as Lothern Sea Guard, but you can see the Rat Ogres are definitely struggling. Lothern Sea Guard with that built-in, those built-in silver shields, a built-in anti-large, crazy melee defense are just very tough nut to crack. In the meantime, though, Death Runners have kind of torn through these spearmen. They are standing still, but shortly I do believe I'll notice them. There we go, and now I will send them in to try to mop up these spearmen. Actually, never mind. I changed my mind and decided to go out to the Lothern Sea Guard. You can see they're taking massive amounts of hurt because these guys have no shields, very little armor. Their physical just isn't enough to compensate for that. Queek, in the meantime, is pushing towards the back with the help of these Plague Monks. And these Death Runners are still kind of running around being a nuisance. Silver Helm's getting beaten off again. I do try to pursue these guys, but they manage to regroup. They are a bit faster than Rat Ogres, actually quite a bit faster. And so the Rat Ogres aren't really able to run them down, and I'm pulling the Rat Ogres back to try to hunt down these Silver Helms. You can see though the Death Runners are definitely doing, or the Gutter Runners are definitely doing a decent job just tanking through things. Plague Monks are still somewhat healthy, Clan Rats are still somewhat healthy. Over here you can see the Skaven Slaves break against the Spearmen. They're a terrible unit, that's not at all surprising. Over here the Death Runners are definitely struggling a bit against the Lothern Sea Guard, though that's no fault of their own, they were simply very badly beaten up at this point. In the meantime, this fight in the woods is going down in a somewhat rough manner. Unfortunately, my opponent left all these units on skirmish, so instead of standing and fighting against the Clan Rats, which they'd probably win, they're routing off and running away. And they're running off away from these Clan Rats as well. So that's definitely a bit of a mistake, I think, against Clan Rats. They're a very weak unit, both of them and Rat Ogres. So Lothern Sea Guard with their high melee defense and very solid melee stats can easily take on most garbage infantry. Not necessarily against, say, they won't do well against Plague Monks, for example, but against most garbage infantry, even some monsters like the lightly armored Rat Ogres, they will do just fine. The chariots are practically out of ammo. I am just kind of just pushing in through the woods now. Creek is still fairly healthy at about 50% HP. And these Death Runners, once again, are idling. I didn't stay on top of control there. You can see I'm trying to get the Gutter Runners set up to start hurling stones at these Tyrannok chariots. And just try to whittle them down. These Death Runners do get charged and they take a massive model loss there, and now they do rout. But at this point, this block over here has finally wiped out the Silver Helms and the Spears, and they're kind of pushing in from the flank. There's a very healthy unit of Death Runners in here who will be able to put the hurt down. Down my opponent very, very effectively. This backline over here is kind of being compromised for my opponent. All these Lothern Sea Guard getting bogged down, and they still have a decent amount of ammo. So if these guys could get into the fight and start shooting, I would definitely be in a lot of trouble. These Clan Rats are just kind of idling over here on the edge. I will notice them fairly shortly, and I'll send them into flank against these guys. There we go. And in the meantime, the back line is just kind of getting torn through. Now, Gutter Runners are actually a decent melee combatant, but against Lothern Sea Guard, that's not really. I don't believe they'll win against Lothern Sea Guard. If anyone says to this, it would be great to know, but I don't believe they'll win in melee against Lothern Sea Guard, which is why I didn't really want to commit them to a fight against the Lothern Sea Guard, because I didn't think I could efficiently trade with them. So Pyrrhic victory, and so I'll be making a video shortly, hopefully. Well, I'll be well, actually, you know what? I think I will discuss Quick Match here because I think it's I don't know. I think I'll do a video on this separately, discussing Quick Match and what I think of it. And I'll probably release this shortly after this video. So, as you can see here, just going over the stats quickly. Plague Monks, the Clan Rats did okay. The Skaven Slaves did terrible. They got 1 kill between 3 units of them. The Gutter Runners did okay. Definitely not a terrible job. Rat Ogres did some good work against the enemy cavalry. Death Runners did amazing work, as did the Plague Monks. They just tore through that squishy elven infantry. And of course, Queek did a great job at killing Tyrion, which I was actually a little bit surprised by. But those trophy heads definitely helped. Now, for my opponent, his Silver Helms did some absolute work. The Lothern Sea Guard got massive amounts of kills. The Spearmen actually held okay. Tyrannok Chariots got a decent amount of kills. I'm not entirely sure how expensive these units are, but they're not. This isn't terrible. I don't believe they're that expensive, so this wasn't a bad performance from at all. But definitely, I think the fact that Tyrion died so early was a prime factor there in deciding the end result, as well as the fact that my opponent was not on top of keeping his, or not allowed his units to all skirmish away. So yeah, one of the things I definitely think Skaven struggle against right now is flying large in particular. They're not terrible against enemy large units because they have a decent. They can field a lot of cheap spears. They can field a lot of cheap. They can field Rat Ogres who are fairly cheap. They have a decent amount of anti, but they're very anti-large units. But they do struggle against a lot against large, and they struggle a lot against Lord sniping, which is a huge issue given the fact that they have some of, if not the worst, morale in the game. Between Warhammer 1 and 2. So definitely a bit of a problem for him. That's why I brought Queek here, and I think it's something I kind of hope somehow gets addressed for the Skaven. I definitely think the Skaven need Warplock Jezzails to be a properly competitive faction in Quick Match. Right now, in this video, you can definitely see some of this where the trades weren't going that well, and the Skaven Rage contingent right now is not that good. It's simply, I really think those Warplock Jezzails are needed. Regardless, though, good game to my opponent. I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. Hopefully, my video content will be coming out much more consistently now that I've hopefully fixed this problem with with recording. So yeah, I do appreciate you all for watching. If you have any comments, criticism, any questions, anything like that, be sure to post those down in the comments, and I will respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye for now.